This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 26th of July, 2019, and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. Let's take a look at today's headlines.
Welcome back, Miss K.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Spasiba.
How
That's
are
how
you?
we say
You were in
in
Russia.
Hey, how was Moscow?
Moscow is beautiful, as always.
Did you see Putin?
No, I could not. I thought he was on Skype with the UHURU, as per your cartoons.
Yeah, and he had taken off his shirt.
I will not comment. Today's headlines. The Star. I don't care who will succeed me. UHURU.
Wow.
Lies.
Daily Nation. Governor's fury as UHURU blocks cash. And The Standard. No extra cash, UHURU tells governors. I think it's a day of UHURU rants at the funeral of Peter Kenneth's mother.
Yeah.
I think we take them all together.
Absolutely. I don't know about you guys, but I think President Uhuru Kenyatta is opening up more fronts than he can afford. And the reason I'm saying this is because of this. First is arrests. And I think some part of the country feels a little bit uneasy with the arrest of CSs. Second is this thing about governors. Governors want more money taken to the counties, and Uhuru has told them to bugger off.
Yeah.
Well, good. But I think that they have a card that he is not seeing.
What card is that?
They might just decide to support the Punguza Mzigo bill.
Yeah.
Right? And then Uhuru will have a referendum on his doorstep that he had not seen, and him and his brother, newfound brother, will be in the lights.
Yeah.
I do have to say this though. You know, Punguza Mzigo bill would be like a Samsonian option for the governors and for any parliamentarian out there. It would be me deciding that I'm okay with losing my job because I just want to smart the president who still gets to keep his.
Exactly.
Well,
It's not a very smart move.
Look at it this way. If Uhuru and Raila want this Ongeza Mzigo bill, the opposite of Punguza Mzigo, what if IEBC just decides to have one issue, and this is the Punguza Mzigo bill, on the referendum, and says you and your Ongeza Mzigo, not this time?
I don't know about that. However, I still think that maybe we could separate the headlines because I think that the Daily Nation and the Standard are talking about one thing and the Star is talking about something else, right? And I think that a lot of the time when we talk about the Star, we talk about their sensational and misleading headlines. Because I think the moment we all read it, we're like, what? Did the president really say that? And then upon further investigation, you read it and you realize he didn't say that.
He did not say it, but
it's implied.
It's implied, and it's the effect. What I would be questioning, what I would be asking is this: why did he feel the need to say it?
I think he said a lot of things off the cuff when he was at that funeral, and a lot of the conversation was had in Kiswahili. He also said, and if I was to address the Standard and the Daily Nation, that De La Rue is the only person that makes money, and I found that hilarious. You know, it felt like my mother.
I am not De La Rue.
It felt like my mother telling me, "Do you think that money grows on trees behind here for me to go and pluck?"
By the way, I love the way he told governors off, but you could see he was a little bit rattled, and he spoke a little bit in Kikuyu, and said there is no way he'll give them any money. But why does he feel the need to say, I don't care who will succeed me?
I don't know. I think it could also be in context.
He said he doesn't
the DP spoke before him, right?
Yeah.
And the DP was reminding him of the promises that they had made to each other in 2013. So that could have been in the context of that. The DP is saying, my guy, we made a promise, and then who responds and says,
I'm very proud to be a deputy in a funeral.
That's what it could be.
But even him, why did he feel the need to say it?
I don't know.
Even when he said he didn't look like you.
So I think not going to the intentions, but we can use our three-part criteria, which is better to analyze these headlines for ourselves and ask ourselves three questions. Are these headlines topical or are they speculative? Are they repetitive or are they groundbreaking? And finally, are they thoughtful or just plain lazy? I think there was no news. We're
tossing the Star was definitely for lies.
And we're keeping the rest.
No, then we look at the rest critically. I still think that, we should toss them. Toss.
But you people said you like the speech. You found it funny.
Like the speech, but not the headlines.
there was no news, and there are no winning headlines. On to our next segment, the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Just like the headlines, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to break them down for you. We ask ourselves 2 questions. Is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And finally, is it effective or just plain lazy?
I think Gado went to sleep.
Yep.
It's a very boring cartoon here.
Terribly boring.
Boring cartoon.
Describe it.
It is a demonstration by Lady Justice and Wanjiku, and they're leading Kenyans against in KPLC. I think this is a 35 billion shilling scandal in KPLC.
Yeah.
And people are saying Keteri is in all manner of things, switch off KPLC. I think it's a bad.
I think it's so boring. I think what Gado did here is he drew the picture that was on, I think, some of the headlines or on some of the newspapers. It's so boring, it's unimaginative. What's the criteria again? Because I think it fails.
Is it effective? Is it humorous? Is it satirical? Is it pessimistic?
None.
Or is it lazy?
Lazy.
I think
You toss it. Gado, what's happening? All right. Next.
Dula. I like this.
I like it.
All right. Caricature of opposition figure, Bobby Wine, there in his red beret, and next to him is a beaten up Kizza Besigye. That's why he has a nundu over here.
Kind of reminds me of Tom and Jerry. I think those are the cartoons that they smack you on the head and then a little would pop out.
Absolutely, and he's holding his guitar, and what's separate, he's holding it between the
mouth of the alligator,
mouth of the alligator, and then
behind
next
him
to
is
next to the alligator is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and
Bobby Wine is saying,
"Wine is the answer." And then Museveni says,
response.
What was the question?
I think it's fantastic. The context here is Bobby Wine has said he's going to run for president in 2021.
Yes.
I think this is a fantastic cartoon.
You know, it reminds me of sometime Robert Mugabe was asked, when are you leaving office? No, when are you saying bye to the people of Zimbabwe? And then he says, where are they going?
Yes, it's true. What was that question?
My gosh.
Can we put that in the parking bay or we look at what's on the star?
Yeah. Caricature of, I like this guy, Oscar Sudi. All right.
Why is he so dark?
Ask who's on, man.
Yeah. Oscar Sudi next to
Moses Kuria. And context and the caption is "We can do better," and there's a caption up there, Kusudi. Kuria and Sudi, right? Context of this is Oscar Sudi calls a press conference, I think a day ago, and he says Uhuru Kenyatta should resign for just 3 months, and then he gives him the presidency, and he sees how he's going to do it. And,
is that why he has the 3 fingers up? Is he saying the 3 for 3 months? I want to try.
Okay, maybe,
I don't know.
Who knows?
Maybe we're overthinking it.
And he says his running mate could be Kuria.
I think we've said this about Ozone. His caricatures are very good.
Fantastic.
I think he is the best right now. They look fantastic. Why he's dark, we don't know. But I think beyond that, I think it's a boring cartoon.
He's just
very
dark.
Boring. I say toss it.
Yep, I agree.
I can't even believe. No, I can't even believe. I can't. We may. You better come correct.
But remember, the 3 of you are there. So
yes. I think that
what I'm going to say is that I cannot believe that we're picking a foreign Ugandan cartoon as our winning cartoon.
I think it's a great
one. So we have a winning cartoon from
of,
Victor Ndula.
In the spirit of East Africa.
We have a winning cartoon from Victor Ndula of that Daily Nation.
Yes.
What is our final thought?
Absolutely. And now our final thought. Inspired by a book entitled 1984 by a man called George Orwell. It's a dark book, I must say.
Very, very dark book. It's dystopian.
It's dystopian.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of utopian.
Utopian, yes, that's true.
In case you did not know.
Thanks, I did not know.
Turam read the book today. He really did. So I think for the benefit of Ms. K, while you were away in Russia, I'll just recap what we've talked about this week. We've been looking at big data, intelligence, technology, and where it's taking us.
Okay.
So on Monday, we looked at weapons of math destruction and how algorithms sometimes, because we do not know how they operate, they're manipulating us.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, we looked at factfulness, and we found out that the world is actually a lot better than we might think it is. Wednesday, we looked at the wisdom of crowds and how sometimes a large crowd can be smarter as a collective than the most intelligent person within it.
Yes.
Yesterday, we looked at the age of surveillance capitalism and how big data and these big corporations, Facebook, Google, they're nudging us to make decisions that we might not realize are coming from them.
Yes.
And so today, we end on a dark note.
Yes.
Inspirational Friday has gone dark.
Yes.
We're going to look at the classic 1984 by George Orwell.
Yeah.
So this book, a lot of people know of the book and they know of the concepts that came out of the book, but a lot of people haven't actually read it. I was surprised to find out that it's actually a love story, which I thought was quite interesting. And so George Orwell in this book, he also brought to the forefront a lot of terms that we now use a lot in literature and discourse. Big Brother, thought police, and many others. So in this book, we follow Winston Smith, who is a member of the Outer Party. He works in the records department in the Ministry of Truth. But in this Ministry of Truth, he is rewriting and distorting history. So that the people are controlled and they don't know what happened in the past to control the present.
Absolutely.
And so he lives in this state of tyranny. And in order to fight against that, he starts to write in a diary, which is also punishable by death. And he then falls in love with this woman named Julia,
who works with him.
And they have this romantic escapade. And then eventually they are caught by the police, and they are tortured. And the police are trying to get them to, get back in line. And eventually he ends up turning on Julia, renouncing Julia, and turning on her,
and going back
on it. And it's very interesting because one of the last lines in the book says he loved Big Brother. So throughout the book, you find him really fighting against this Big Brother situation, the thought police, and the restrictions around his life. And in the end, he gets so whipped into shape that he just renounces and he says, yes, I do love Big Brother. It's quite interesting.
It's quite
sad.
It's quite crazy because the distortion of it is carried out in the themes. In this place called Oceania, Oceania?
I cannot help you with
Oceania.
It's because she did not know.
I cannot help you with the pronunciation. There was in Russia.
There's this thing of distortion. So there are ministries. There's a Ministry of Peace, which actually wants to go to war. The Ministry of Plenty, which is economics and rations. It's very weird. Ministry of Truth, their work is to lie and construct their own truth. And then the Ministry of Love.
Where they torture.
Where they torture people. But here's the crazy thing as well. In this place called Oceania, society has been stratified into 3 segments. The first is the inner party, where is 2%. The 2%.
Those are the elites.
Those are the elites, right? And then you have the outer party, which is sort of the middle class, right?
And that's where our protagonist falls,
which is where Winston falls,
right? And that forms about 13%. And then there is what they call the proles, right? And this forms the majority. But here is where I sort of agree with him, and that it is the exemplification of society everywhere else. That the state cares about itself, which is the 2% plus 13%, total 15%. But the majority, 85%, are made to be mundane. It's because they are useless. Society thinks, the top thinks that society is useless, and therefore they can be able to tell them anything.
And I think that's very interesting because this book was written in 1949.
Just coming off the war.
The Second World War. But he was writing it in the future in anticipation of what he thought 1984 would look like.
Yes, absolutely. But you know what the currency is in these 3 parts of society is information. And he says information is important. And the control of that information is most important. If you do not give those proles or the mundane people, the useless people, that you don't give them the currency, which is information, it means you can lead them the way you want.
Exactly, and that's why in the Ministry of Truth, their job is to manipulate history, because if people do not know what happened in the past, and then you're controlling their present, then they're completely under your
and you control their future
as well.
But I do have a question for you guys. What does 1984 bode for us today in 2019? I know it continues to be a very important book, and with the coming to power of Donald Trump, everyone felt that we are now living in a new Big Brother era in which Russia was controlling the election in America,
Cambridge
Analytica. We had the documentary coming out on Wednesday. What can we say about what it bodes for us? Do we live in this 1984 era in which you're constantly under surveillance, as they were? They could never turn off the surveillance. Big Brother was continually watching them. Are we also being watched by Big Brother? Is Big Brother Facebook, Google, our smartphone that we carry with us everywhere? Are we also living in a world in which we have a Ministry of Truth, our own media that feeds us with information that sometimes is distorted and tells us things that may or may not be completely true? Are we also surrounded by negative choice architects, if I could call them?
Absolutely.
And what then can we do about it?
Let me tell you. You see, the way you're looking at these governments like that, or you're looking at the choice architects, there is a way I can ground this to our reality here.
Yes, go ahead.
You see, in this ministry of truth, they create truth so that we believe it.
Yes.
Okay? And I think, and I'll be a bit crazy here.
We haven't had that in a while.
The ministry of truth in this country is the Brotherhood of Law. It's DPP and DCI, all right? And they have created this narrative and said, you must support the fight against corruption.
Yes.
Until we, or let me speak for myself, until me, the person who does not support the fight against, I say, I support the fight against corruption, but, look, I don't need to say but. I should actually say outrightly that I don't support the fight against graft. And here is why. You see, when a postman delivers letters, do you say, I support him for delivering letters?
Kenya, what are they called? Postal Service.
Kenya Post Service for delivering letters?
No, you don't. He's doing his job.
Okay, when you see a policeman arresting a burglar, you say, I support the fight against burglary?
No, in fact, I'm very grateful.
Because it is their job to do it, correct? Now, corruption, as any other thing, is a crime.
Yes.
So, saying I support the fight against corruption, you're saying the fight, you support the fight against fighting crime, which is normal, right? So
okay, and so what does that have to do with the Ministry of Truth today?
Because the Ministry of Truth, the Ministry of Truth, and I'd say I want to ground it.
Yes.
The Ministry of Truth in what's his name, Orwell, in Orwell's book, is there to distort facts and figures and history to the people.
And we hope and pray that our Ministry of Truth is giving us the correct truth, because they're taking people to courts of law and that could affect their lives.
I think what Ms. K is inviting us to do with her question is to ask her, because this book is now 70 years old, right?
Yes, it is.
So we're saying that 70 years ago, this man, just off the tails of Second World War, envisioned a world that we are actually living in right now.
Absolutely.
And I have one more question before you answer that question. I want to add this too. As you think about the solution to my previous question, what does it hold for us in this world? The thing that he does is that Winston, in this book, goes through a journey of rebellion, if I could call it that.
Right.
So the first thing he does is that he claims back his thought. So the minute the party takes your thought and they channel you into a certain way, they give you hate videos that you watch and they rally you up against an enemy that they have created. An enemy who sits in a brotherhood, and these guys are against them, and they rally you up against these people. So the first thing that he does is he gets back his thought.
By writing in his diary.
Back his individuality by writing in his diary, and he gets back an ability to express himself on his own. Are we saying that? And for me, that comes out, and I think Orwell is also asking us to do this himself, because for me, the most iconic line in this book is the first one. And you can miss someone. It says, it was a bright day in April and the clocks were striking 13.
Yes.
There's no place in which clocks strike 13. But the fact that all clocks were striking 13, so we all agree that 13 is an actual number and that we all should strike it. But you as a reader, that first statement should make you question everything. Question what are statements of truth. Because when the clock strikes 1, it's a statement of truth. So are we also being asked to either go on a journey of rebellion or to question?
I think a beautiful question. You see, when he's having an affair with Julia, and then he goes to see O'Brien, so that O'Brien gives him a new manifesto. And then he's tortured. He's told that to believe that 2 + 2 equals
5,
and is actually equals to
4, which we all know. That's the objective truth.
You see, what he's trying to say is a journey from which he was seeing when he was seeing Julia, and then he went to see this O'Brien guy. He was in the journey of personal expression, and personal expression is a journey to enlightenment. But when
he's being tortured, you
have to be returned back to the outer party. It's a return to the state of fear. Now, fear is also currency. As much as information is currency, what keeps you from expressing yourself mostly, and it's not just a matter of the state imposing this on you, is fear of the unknown.
Right. And I think, a lot of the books this week have talked about that. When we talk about the black box, that is the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going on inside. But I think what we could use from this book, as dark and dystopian as it is that maybe we could learn from it, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that sometimes with data and with technology, we feel that we don't have an option. Facebook is taking all our information and then using it against us. Or for us. We don't know what it might be. But I think that if we're conscious of that, and then we maybe either take ourselves away from it, you know, you can get a kibambe, right? You don't have to have...
Kabambe.
Kabambe, sorry.
Kibambe?
You can...
Bambi.
Okay,
you don't have to relinquish all of your information to these big corporations. You can choose to remove yourself from it. Yeah. But on the other hand, you do need to use WhatsApp, and you might just say, I'm accepting that they're going to use my information, and I'm happy with that. But I think that the important thing is having the choice, or at least being knowledgeable so that you feel like it is informed.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Winning Headlines. We did not have a winning headline, but we did have a winning cartoon from Victor Ndula of the Daily Nation. This week we've been talking about data intelligence, artificial intelligence,
security,
algorithms, security, and what they mean for you.
Yeah.
And we're ending on a very somber note in which we have learned that we don't live in a totalitarian society.
Right.
No, we're not living under the watchful eye of Big Brother, but we do live under non-stop surveillance, and yes, we are Big Brother. We are watching each other. Yeah. But I would like to end on the note of factfulness. There's something you said to him right now that I thought resonated with the book that you read this week. And he said that the thing that they're using against us is fear. And I think a quote from that book that was mentioned on the show by you guys is that there is no room for facts when our minds are occupied by fear.
Right.
And perhaps George Orwell was not writing a prophecy of what life would be 70 years from his death date, because he did die soon after writing this novel. But he was writing about what we could do, like what we can see and how we can change it. And we in the third world, if I can call us that, I know it's not kosher to call us that, have a better advantage. We can see what surveillance capitalism is doing in the West, and we can make sure that we do not do that to ourselves here. We can keep our individuality, we can keep our privacy, and most importantly, we can protect ourselves by that knowledge. If I know that I have to agree, at least I should feel like I do not have no choice. I should be able to have some sort of protection from it. And maybe that's what 1984 is about. It's about getting you to question, like that first line where the clocks strike 13. Look around you and see those things that just don't make sense, and begin to question what you thought before were statements of fact. Have a great weekend, and see you on Monday.